Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with author Just Judy. We caught up with her to talk about her book, Holy Joe, Prophet, Seer, Revelator, Mormon Propagandist Book 1. We also get into her career and so much more. She is a retired business professional who currently resides in Farmers Branch, Texas. She became captivated by Mormon frontier history after converting to the faith of Mormonism and later discovering the true history of the church. She is neither pro nor anti-Mormon. She takes a strong stand for history and enjoys recreating events according to historical documentation. She is currently working on her second book, also a frontier fiction with Mormon characters and ideals. It's quite a story. Enjoy.
Judy, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So before we get into your work, I want to know this. You know, I think we're all still feeling the effects of COVID. It did quite a thing for all of us. How many ripples from that time period affect the way that you work and live your life today?
Well, we used to go to the senior center every day, and we don't anymore.
Yeah.
The reason we don't is because we thought we needed to do something every day. And when we found out we don't need to do everything every day, we can just sit home and read and write and paint and do what we want. So that's how it opened a door for us.
Let's get into exactly what you do for a living on a daily basis so it's understandable to, say, a grade school kid. So I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, 10, 11-year-olds. One of the kids is curious in the back of the room and says, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you answer them?
Well, I don't work. I worked all my life, and I saved money. And when you get old, really old like I am, you don't have to get up and go to work every day, but you still can get up and read and write and do the things that you want to do.
What was that career? What was the career that you had before now, and what occupied?
I was an administrative assistant. I worked in my two best jobs were at architectural firms where I would do payroll and help with them with the computers, and I was an office administrator.
What do you do these days to fill your time?
Read and write, swim, go grocery shopping, clean the house. The same thing that most people do when they're retired and stay home. Mostly read and write. I'm working on my second novel.
Okay. So talk to me about your first novel.
My first novel is called Holy Joe, Prophet, Seer, and Revelator. It is a frontier fiction. It's also called a pioneer fiction. It's also called a historical fiction or biographical fiction. Because are we still talking to school kids, or can I just talk to the world?
No, yeah, you can go off on your you're good.
Okay. So Joseph Smith was the founder of the Mormon Church. I once became a Mormon, and when I became a Mormon, I was basically a Lutheran. When I became a Mormon, I just did embrace the church. I don't think I embraced the theology. And as I stayed in and learned more and more about the theology, I had conflicts, which led me to find resources where I could find more and more of the actual factual history, not that has been edited and changed to suit the histories, to suit the church's way they want to present themselves. They're doing a lot of denying actual factual history. Joseph Smith, when he translated the Book of Mormon, at one point he was using a stone in his hat. That's how he got his messages from God. The church didn't want everybody to know that. But there are people out there who say, hey, we want everybody to know what really happened. So I knew what really happened, and I think right now most people know what really happened. The difference is in my book, you can follow what happened from beginning to end in one read, and you will understand the whole story. Where otherwise, if you just take it in pieces, you can get lost in this aspect, lost in that aspect, where it's just a frontier fiction. It's a recreation of what happened.
So talk to me a little bit about your, like when you were in the third grade, what was your dream growing up? Was it to become a writer one day? What was your ultimate dream?
Third grade, I don't think I had a dream to become a writer. Very young, I did realize that I was a writer. I also had a lot of interest in science. At one time, I wanted to be a lab worker or something that had to do with the field of science. I always liked science. I excelled in science. I also excelled in writing and math. I didn't excel in history, and that's what I'm doing.
So what was the first, but take me back to where you were born and raised, and what were some of these foundational elements for you to be interested in history and to write and everything that you've evolved into? What were the foundational seeds that were planted?
Well, I will answer you, but I don't usually talk about this stuff. But basically, my father hung himself when I was a young girl. Then went from me and my brothers and sisters went from foster home to foster home to foster home because my single mother just couldn't handle us all. Then I spent 5 years in a boarding school, which was very good experience, very good life. Arts and crafts, swimming, going to the opera. I mean, there were people who contributed to the school that I was in, so that we really had a lot of advantages, even though we didn't have parents. Now, how that made me become interested in science or writing, I don't know. It's just, you asked me where it came from, and that's where it is.
Yeah, so what was your favorite book growing up? What was the book that opened up your mind to a new world of either reading more or writing?
Well, there'd have to be a whole series of them, but one that really impressed me, I'm not thinking of the name. I don't know that I can answer you that because I don't go back there in my memories very often.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about heroes. Who's been kind of a hero or an inspiration or a bedrock for you in your life to evolve?
I knew you were going to be difficult. When I watched you talking to other people, I said, oh, man, this is going to be difficult. He's going to really challenge me. Who are my heroes? I don't know. I must have heroes. Joe, I'm sorry, but I spend my days reading history now and never thinking about the kind of things that you're asking me.
See this. What do you want to talk about? I don't want to make you uncomfortable, and I'm getting the feeling that and I'm not trying to pry or get anything weird. You tell me what you want to talk about, and I'll take it from there.
I don't feel bad like you're trying to pry, but I'm feeling that I never go there myself, so I don't know the answers. It's like I'm floundering.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm just trying to, from what I can estimate, I'm just kind of trying to put questions so people can get a better idea. So I'll just try to be more tangential and see if I can ambiguously find my way into the room and get the flashlight. So let's ask this. Who's your favorite writer? Who's a writer that you admire?
James Michener, Leon Uris, Irving Stone.
If you could meet one of these writers, what would you want to know? What would you ask? What would you want to know?
Well, I think I know what I want to know because I read them, and I read them over and over again. I think I would want to know everything I could about him, but I've read James Michener's and his life, and I guess I just want to sit down and have a chat because I feel that I know him. Not so much the other two, but James Michener, I was really everything James Michener. James Michener is why I do biographical historical history, yes.
So talk to me about the new book that's coming out.
What can I tell you about the new book that's coming out? Well, it was intended to be a sequel to The Holy Joe. So I did start researching it, and I got on my website, Mormon Protagonist. Every time I do a book, I read a new resource material. I do a book report. And that was going to lead me to do the sequel, which would have been Brigham Young takes them all across over to the Great Basin. And the only thing is, the more and more I researched it, and the more I hear what other people say about Brigham Young, I don't think he's going to be a very nice book to read. He's not a very nice guy. So now I'm redeveloping it to be, it's going to start out with two young people in England. The Mormons did a lot. They sent a lot of elders over to England. At one time, they had more converts in England than they had Latter-day Saints in Utah City, Salt Lake City. So I'm going to start out in England. Two of them are going to convert. They're going to go across the ocean. There's a third one who is going to go across the prairie with the wagon trains and bring them as a group. But I tend to introduce my people to bring them in Mormonism through the eyes of three women. All these three women wrestled with polygamy in one way or another.
Yeah.
Actually, one of them got a divorce from him. The other one worried about her children and her husband, and you know. So it's not developed yet. So I don't really know exactly. I just know that it's not going to be from the perspective of Brigham Young. It's going to be from the perspective of three women who converted.
So what is this fascination, this interest in the Mormon world that you're writing about? How did that come about?
Well, I think I did tell you that I became a Mormon, and when I became a Mormon, and I became a Mormon, but I didn't buy the theology. And as I was in it, I started investigating the theology. And as I started investigating the theology, I would say things like, gee, I believe in God and Jesus and Jack and the Beanstalk and Snow White and the Several Dwarfs, because it all sounded the same. I had big conflicts as a Mormon, which got me to know Mormon history. After I studied Mormon history, just for myself, to find my answers, to realize that, oh, man, all this stuff that I was taught to believe is not correct. I was deceived. And most Mormons who wake up feel they've been deceived. Actually, I think they all do. And so it's just something I worked through to get myself out. And then because I've always wanted to write, I wanted to write that story. Now, my continued fascination about Mormonism isn't really that I think there's a question that a lot of people would like to see answered that I'm trying to answer, is why do people convert? And what do they really accept when they convert? And I don't know. It's basically frontier historical fiction. It's recreating the past. It's just what I know. It's not that, I mean, I could probably do something else, but I'd have to take 10 years to get the background.
Yeah, well, I get it. I actually grew up in Liberty, Missouri, which is where the Mormon jail is.
In Liberty Jail? Yeah, I know Liberty Jail. Yeah, he was there for 5 months.
I lived like half a mile from there.
Did you really?
Yeah, I didn't see it until I was in my 20s. I was just like, because I didn't grow up in that religion, and I just was like, you know, I knew there was this relic, but I didn't know anything about it. So yeah, that gives you some kind of relevance there.
And that's what I'm writing for. There's a lot of people who know Brigham Young and Mormonism, but they don't really know what it's about, and that's what I wanted to share. And you know, it's just what I know. It's not that it's not emotionally attached to me anymore. It's just, as a writer, it's a good thing to write about. It's a good topic. It's a topic that a lot of people will be able to say, have curiosity about or want to know more about.
We have the RLDS temple actually in Independence, which is supposed to be where Jesus is going to land when he comes back.
Well, he was going to land first in Kirtland, and then you know, they kept changing where he's going to land. Now he's going to land in Salt Lake City. So, although they might go back to Missouri, I don't know. They keep changing it. When they get kicked out of one place, he's not going to land there. They have to have a new Zion, and then they get kicked out of there, and they have to have a new Zion.
Yep. So let me ask you this: of all of these things that you've done and accomplished in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I don't know. I can't answer that question either. Basically, life was a lot of struggle, much of it, and I'm glad that I got through it. I'm glad. I think that when I finished writing my first novel, I felt a strong sense of satisfaction. I don't think that there is anything else in life that gave me that sense of satisfaction. I think because it's something that was always within me, and it took so long to get it out, that when I finally got it out, it was a deep sense of satisfaction. That's not to say that I'm not satisfied with other things in my life, but this one I strived for longer.
Yeah, I get it. I totally understand. So let me ask you this. From your book, from your first book that's out, what's been one of the best fan letters or best responses you've gotten?
Well, I've gotten a lot of response, and the one that speaks to me the most is when they say that I make it sound like they're really there. They make you feel like you're really there, because to me that's what fiction should do. And a nonfiction, you can find out, if you read enough nonfiction books, you can find out this story. But the whole point of it being fiction is for you to go back there and feel like you're there, feel the snow on your feet, the rain on your face. And that's what several of my reviewers say, that I have a knack for doing. So I think that I've accomplished what I want to accomplish. So, I'm true to history, and I make you feel like you're being there, living through it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Judy. At the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, all of your fans. But you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm hardworking, energetic, and creative.
I like it. So when is the next
I'm also
book coming out?
sports-oriented. Huh?
Sports-oriented?
Well, I go swimming.
Okay.
I care about...
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm done.
Oh, no. I was just wondering when the next book is projected to come out so we can let everybody know.
Well, I think it's probably going to be 2 years. Okay. It's hard to say. Books come out when they come, you know? I mean, I just keep researching and massaging and putting things in their place and double-checking facts and, you know, but basically it'll happen as it happens. But I'm hoping to be done in 2 years because Bart Ehrman does his book in 2 years.
If anyone wants to pick up the current book or they want to reach out to you or find out anything that's going on in your world, where do they go?
MormonProtagonist.com is my website. My book can be found on Amazon, Holy Joe Just Judy. You can Google it, Holy Joe Just Judy, and it'll come right up there because I'm pretty much out there.
I will make sure to have links in the show notes. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking a minute out today. Have a great holiday season and a great 2025.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.